Hey, are you looking to find out what it takes to rank in Google each week? If so, you found the perfect series for you because each week we walk you through what it takes to rank on the front page of Google, looking at billions of data points within SERPWoo to come up with the top 20 ranking factors for that week that are getting people ranked on the front page of Google compared to everybody else on page 2 plus. Hey, thanks for joining me on this edition of the podcast. I'm your host, Jason Brown, the co founder of SERPWoo and the inventor of SERP tracking. And in this week's episode, we look at September 1st, what it's taking to rank on the front page of Google. Now, our last episode was on the 25th of August, and between that date, the 25th, and today, we did have what looked like some major fluctuations in the SERPs. So let's look at what has changed and what seem to be the top factors for what's ranking people on the front page of Google this week. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Let me switch screens. Now, what you're seeing here is what it took to rank for the past few weeks here. So we'll jump into what it takes to rank this week. But before I do that, I'm going to ask you to take a second to like the video right now. That definitely will help us. Like the video. If you want to learn more about what it takes to rank in Google each week, go ahead and leave us a comment about any of the prior videos that you've watched, and maybe take a second to subscribe so that when these videos come out each week, you're one of the first people to learn about what it's take to ranking in Google this week. So in order to show you what's ranking this week, I do want to take a second to actually show you what's been ranking and how that has shaken out. So looking at a historic view, that's why I've got this spreadsheet here, is so that I can look through and tell what has been some of the most important factors. And I finally got to a point where I looked at these factors. I looked at them since April when we started this series, and I looked at them for the last 6 weeks too. And here's the information, the data that I found is that essentially for what's ranking currently, I looked at the factors that we went over. And I looked at them since April, and I looked at them for the prior 6 weeks. Now, that does not include this week, but the prior 6 weeks. And what I'm finding is keywords in H2, how this is highlighted here, that has ranked ever since the beginning. It's ranked this way as a top factor for years, actually. I've been watching this for a while. Years ago, I talked about how H2s were some of the top factors in ranking on the first page of Google, and it's still holding strong. Followed up by keywords and sentences right here, which should be no surprise. I mean, you've got to have the keyword in your content along with similar words. And then everything else that seems to be important is the page size, keywords and titles, keywords in H3, and keywords in H1. So, this really is, SEO content 101 that you really need to hone in and pay attention to your heading tags, the keywords in the sentences, and of course the page size. Now, that doesn't mean that extra terms in the titles or extra in meta description or the number of images and alt tags and other factors are not important. This is simply just a listing of what seems to be in the top 20, at least longevity wise, since we started this in April, and even looking at recently the prior 6 weeks. And that's kind of how I have these listed out. Now, keywords and titles, which I don't think I just mentioned, is also important too. But getting it in the titles, getting it in the sentences, the H2, the H3, the H1, I would definitely pay more attention to the H2. I would definitely pay more attention to getting it into the regular pieces of content. But you don't want to ignore the title, the H3, the H1, and you definitely want to look at your page size. So as far as page size, that's mostly going to be comprised of your body tag, which is mostly going to be comprised of your content. So if you're finding out that for your industry or your keyword that it's taking, 3,000 words to rank on the front page of Google, that's where you want to be. If it's only taking 400 words, that's, again, where you want to be. You don't always have to blow people out of the water. You want to match and slightly exceed for something like your content length or your page size. You don't want to be way outside of normal. So now that you've seen these and I was able to talk about this, let's jump back into this week's rankings. So let's go ahead and run through these real quickly here. What do you think the number one factor is? Drop a comment. I know a lot of y'all are going to say page size, all right, but let's look. So the number one factor this week is keywords in sentences. It's not page size, folks. I know. Big shocker. Keywords in sentences was the number one correlating factor across millions of keywords, hundreds of millions of URLs, billions of data points, and thousands of SEO factors. It shook out that the correlation came back to keywords in sentences. Page size was number 2, followed up by keywords in H2, keywords in titles, extra terms in the titles. These would be like 2022, maybe the word best, reviewed, compared, top, any kind of salesy keyword, review keyword, extra terms that are not your target keyword. Keywords in H3, keywords in meta description. And before I tell you the last 2 factors, again, I want to push that if this is something new, if you've learned something new, if you enjoy these videos, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. It'll definitely help us out. Jump back into the video now. Next one is number of images plus alt text. So basically having, a good amount of images, also having the alt text there. Again, you don't want to blow out your competitors. Look at what the average is, match and slightly exceed here. And then keywords in H1 coming in at the bottom. Now, I don't show you all 20 factors because some of these factors do overlap. Things like, I've got factors that are keywords in H1 through H3. But if I'm seeing that a particular heading is outweighing that particular factor that is H1 through H3 as one factor, I'm going to go ahead and just list that here. Same thing with body size and page size. It's essentially the same metric. Page size does include heading, but if I know that the page size is going to be largely dependent on body tag, I'm going to go ahead and label it here as page size. So that is the factors this week, guys. I hope you were able to learn something new. If you like the video, go ahead and leave a like at least. Try to drop a comment. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. And go ahead and subscribe if you haven't so that you can be one of the first people to get these videos each week as they drop and learn what's working to rank in Google each week. Thanks, and I hope you have a great weekend. Goodbye.